celebrating his doc, the Reckoning, Sean Combs' The Reckoning being not only #1 in the US, but now #1 in the UK. And he posted some flowers, and y'all know 50 love being funny.
Okay, so 50 Cent just pulled the curtain back on why Snoop Dogg suddenly vanished the exact moment the Diddy documentary hit Netflix. And listen, what came out of this is way darker than anyone expected. Multiple people close to the situation are now saying Snoop might not be as clean as his image makes him look, and some are even claiming his role could be just as troubling as Diddy's. Yeah, that sounds crazy, but stay locked in, because the details behind this are straight up shocking. You didn't click this video for no reason. Something about Snoop going quiet felt wrong and your instincts weren't lying. The documentary Diddy, The Reckoning exploded the second it dropped and shot straight to #1 on Netflix in both the US and the UK. That alone is huge, but here's the part nobody can ignore. The moment this documentary went live, Snoop Dogg disappeared completely. No Instagram, no tweets, no jokes, no commentary at all. For someone who normally reacts to everything in hip-hop culture, that silence is loud, and here's exactly what we're breaking down. First, the real reason Snoop suddenly stepped back when Diddy became the main topic everywhere. Second, disturbing claims from people who say they were around both of them and saw things up close. Third, long-standing connections that have been right in front of everyone for years but never fully questioned. And finally, information tied to Kim Porter that is people re-examining what was really happening behind closed doors. Every piece matters, so don't skip ahead, because the last detail changes how this whole story looks. Before getting into the heavy accusations, you need to understand something important. Snoop and Diddy weren't just industry buddies or occasional collaborators. Their connection ran deep, personal, and long-term. This wasn't surface level at all. That history explains why Snoop's silence right now is raising so many eyebrows. Now, when 50 Cent's documentary dropped, it instantly became the biggest thing on Netflix. People everywhere started talking about the allegations, the stories from those who said they were affected, and the environment that surrounded Diddy for years. The documentary breaks down claims, timelines, and behavior patterns that many say were ignored for far too long. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable, and it forced a lot of people to react. But while artists, fans, and media voices were all speaking up, Snoop stayed completely quiet. No jokes, no side comments, no reactions at all. That's not normal behavior for him, especially when the topic dominates hip-hop culture. Silence at a moment like this doesn't look neutral, it looks calculated. Now listen to this closely, because this is Snoop himself explaining how closely their families were connected, word for word, exactly as said.
Just so you know, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years old. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always had.
That quote alone shows how tight these families were for years. Their lives were intertwined, their kids grew up together, traveled together, and moved in the same circles. That level of closeness explains why people are now digging into old footage, old interviews, and old stories with a fresh lens. Nothing here feels random anymore, and that's exactly why Snoop's silence has people talking louder than ever. So what they built wasn't just industry ties, it was a real friendship, almost a brotherhood, the same kind Snoop himself said he and Puff always had. This wasn't random or distant, this was personal, deep, and long-running. Snoop went on TV himself and broke it down very clearly. He explained that his sons and Diddy's sons had been best friends since they were around 6 years old. He talked about how close their families were, how they were always around each other, and how Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex, would bring the kids together for play dates and family time.
Now, if you take that top card, when I die, I want my last words to be, I did it.
Hey.
That wasn't business, that was family level connection. He even laid out the parallels. When Justin went to UCLA, Snoop's son also went to UCLA. When Christian started rapping, Snoop's son started rapping too. When one was modeling, the other was right there, flying around the world with him. These families moved in sync at every level. Same schools, same paths, same circles. That kind of bond doesn't just disappear overnight. So here's the real question. When someone you're that close to gets exposed for serious allegations, and your first reaction is to vanish completely from public view, what does that say? Wouldn't someone with nothing to hide at least say something, anything at all? Even a simple statement would make sense. And let's be clear here, No wild accusations are being thrown around. This is about patterns, behavior, and timing that don't line up cleanly. People are just noticing things that feel off, and it's fair to question that. Now, before going further, you need to understand what these allegations are actually about. We're talking about claims involving so-called freak-off parties where inappropriate behavior was allegedly taking place. There are also claims that Snoop was allegedly seen in compromising situations with Diddy, and yes, there are even darker claims floating around online that suggest possible involvement in trafficking-related situations. These are allegations being discussed publicly, not confirmed facts, and they are serious enough that people are paying attention. If this feels heavy, that's because it is. This isn't light gossip, and it's not for everyone. But if you want to understand why people are rewatching old footage with new eyes, let's keep going. Now let's talk about Snoop's past behavior, because once you notice certain moments, you can't unsee them. There's this clip people keep going back to. Diddy once said on television, "When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it." Go back and watch Snoop's face in that exact moment. He gives this awkward smile, not shocked, not confused, but almost like he knows exactly what Diddy means. People are now saying that moment feels less like a joke and more like a shared understanding, almost like an inside reference between two people who know something others don't. Watching it now hits different, and that's why it's unsettling. And it doesn't stop there, because there's more footage people are digging into.
Good, happy to have you back, my man.
Man, I ain't went nowhere. I'm closer than you think.
Yeah, man, I had to run it back. I mean, the people rock with you, so, it was only right, man. So I gotta ask you, because over the years, man, there's been a lot of confusion. When Tupac got shot in Vegas, was Snoop at the hospital?
So Snoop didn't go nowhere near the hospital. So when it happened, as you know, for some strange reason, but now we know the real reason, Snoop did not attend the fight with us or the club, the after party at Club 662. And what's so crazy about that, we thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he did attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this. I was at my house in Vegas, and I started calling Snoop, telling him, "Hey, what's up?" Like it's something wrong with this situation. Pac in the hospital, come holler at him, come check on him. So he drove down, and I was at the house waiting on him. And Tupac's mother was at my house.
Now here's where things get even more confusing. Over the years, there's been constant discussion about what happened the night Tupac was shot in Vegas. One question always comes up: where was Snoop during all of that? It's been said clearly that Snoop did not go to the hospital, he didn't show up at the fight, and he wasn't at the after party at Club 662 either. For years, that didn't make sense to people. Back then, nobody really questioned it, but now with everything resurfacing, people are asking why he stayed away and what the real reason was. That absence is being looked at very differently today, and it's adding another layer to a story that just keeps getting heavier. And what made it even crazier was how unusual the whole situation felt at the time. People around them said it was strange right away, because this was the very first event Snoop ever didn't attend with that group. That alone raised eyebrows, even back then. According to Warren G and others close to the situation, pieces of this story started making more sense years later. But here's how it was described straight from those involved. One of them said, "I was at my house in Vegas and I started calling Snoop, telling him, 'Hey, what's up? Something's wrong with this situation. Pac is in the hospital, come check on him.' That urgency says a lot. He explained that Snoop eventually drove down to the house where things were already heavy. Tupac's mother was there, deeply worried because her son was in the hospital fighting for his life. The tension in that room was already intense before Snoop even walked in. Now fast forward to more recent years, Suge Knight, who is currently in prison serving a life sentence, has spoken publicly about that night, and since he's already behind bars, many people believe he has little reason to hold back his version of events. According to Suge, Snoop was originally supposed to go to the Mike Tyson fight with them that night. Tickets were set, plans were made, everything was lined up, but at the very last moment Snoop didn't show up. No fight, no club afterward, no appearance at all. And this wasn't normal for him because it was the first time he ever skipped something like that with them. Then not long after, Tupac was shot and rushed to the hospital. What really stands out is that even after Tupac was hospitalized, Snoop still didn't go there right away. Suge said he was calling him repeatedly, saying, "Pac's in the hospital, come check on him." That delay is something people are still questioning today. When Snoop finally arrived at the house, things took an emotional turn. Tupac's mother was present, clearly upset and worried, and according to the account shared, Snoop told them that Tupac was angry with him and didn't want to see him. Then something happened that shocked everyone in the room. It was said that Snoop became extremely emotional, started crying, and even became physically sick. People who heard this story later said that kind of reaction didn't feel ordinary for a casual misunderstanding. It felt heavy, overwhelming, and intense in a way that made people uncomfortable. Now, to be clear, no one is stating facts here, only repeating what has been publicly claimed over the years, but reactions like that naturally made people ask questions. Emotional responses at moments like these often leave lasting impressions on those who witness them, and here's where another detail added fuel to the discussion. Warren G., who is part of Snoop's extended family circle, confirmed that Snoop was at his house the night of the shooting. He also mentioned that Snoop had a walkie-talkie with him during that time. That small detail alone has caused endless speculation because people keep asking why something like that would even be needed. Taken together, these moments don't provide answers, but they do create a pattern that people keep revisiting. And once these details resurface, they hit a lot harder than they did the first time around. Now here's where things take an even stranger turn. These weren't regular walkie-talkies like you buy from a store. According to Suge, these were special security radios, the kind that worked across the entire West Coast. Only security teams at major events had access to that kind of equipment. So the question people keep asking is simple but uncomfortable. Why did Snoop have a high-level security radio at Warren G's house while watching the fight on TV? And it gets even more unsettling. It's been claimed that through that radio, he could allegedly hear what was happening in Vegas in real time. Some witnesses have said they heard voices over the radio right after Tupac was shot, with someone saying, "Got him." That's not a normal situation by any stretch. Nobody's stating conclusions here, just pointing out how these details line up in a way that makes people pause. I'm just connecting the dots that others have already put out there. You decide for yourself if this sounds normal or not.
And Death Row, y'all don't love us. Y'all don't love us.
All on the record, dancing, come to Death Row.
And I was like, damn, we on the same record label. I know these people are really thinking like we are like Coast, West Coast. We got beef with the people we got beef with, but we could go anywhere in the country because we are America's most wanted.
Those words hit different now when people replay old footage. Back then, some fans noticed tension within the label. People thought, we're all West Coast, same side, same movement. The belief was that they could go anywhere without issues, that they were untouchable. But looking back, cracks were already showing, and it's not just Suge making these claims. Fans have gone deep into old interviews from the 1990s, breaking down body language frame by frame. They're watching how Snoop acted whenever Tupac was around. You can see the tension, the nervous energy, the way Snoop positioned himself closer to Diddy's circle. Instead of death row during the East Coast versus West Coast tension, people were already calling this out back then. Some fans openly said Snoop betrayed Tupac, but nobody wanted to believe it. Snoop's image was too smooth, too calm, too likable. But when people rewatch those clips today, the signs feel harder to ignore. And now this is where things start getting really disturbing, so stay with me.
Up a little bit more, let me see how that. Oh yeah, dang.
You understand? We don't hold our man hand. We shake it and get it back in our pocket. Right. You understand? They got Diddy and Neo. And if you heard Neo's wife call him Little Diddy, that he likes freak off, get high and get freak off. They all baby oil you up.
Oh man, what the hell is that?
You understand?
Yo. Not him and the son. That's the son, right?
Yeah.
Those exact words are part of an interview that resurfaced, and people are now watching it with completely different eyes. A man named Courtney Burgess recently came forward. He's a music industry veteran with over 35 years of experience, and he claims he has Kim Porter's real memoir, not the version that was published and later disputed, but what he says is the original unfiltered material. According to Courtney, Kim Porter documented everything. He says she kept photos, notes, and records hidden because she believed certain people were extremely dangerous. Before her passing in 2018, she allegedly handed this material to someone she trusted. Courtney claims that within this memoir are images showing Diddy and Snoop together in situations that raise serious questions. He describes moments that weren't quick greetings or casual gestures, but interactions that appeared unusually intimate for public settings. He emphasized, "We don't hold our man hand, we shake it and get it back in our pocket." His point was clear, these moments didn't look typical. During the interview, some photos were shown in a heavily redacted form. Faces were blurred, names removed, but body language was still visible. Viewers immediately pointed out how uncomfortable the interactions appeared, even without full context. Courtney also claimed that there were similar images involving other male celebrities, all allegedly documented by Kim Porter before her death. Again, these are claims made publicly, not proven facts, but the consistency is what has people talking. At first, many brushed it off as gossip. That reaction makes sense, but things shifted when Courtney said he was contacted by someone looking to sell tapes connected to Diddy.
Was just recently contacted by someone who wanted me to essentially represent them in the sale of one of the Diddy tapes. So, which I declined that because...
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that again, back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is
yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood, but one particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became a public knowledge.
I've heard this before, so like a catch and kill.
Catch and kill, correct.
Wow, can you, and I guess you can't reveal the person who is on
No,
the
I
tape.
can't explain who the person was, but Mr.
High profile?
Mr. Combs was in the tape, and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile than.
Those exact words are part of an interview that resurfaced, and people are now watching it with completely different eyes. A man named Courtney Burgess recently came forward. He's a music industry veteran with over 35 years of experience, and he claims he has Kim Porter's real memoir, not the version that was published and later disputed, but what he says is the original unfiltered material. According to Courtney, Kim Porter documented everything. He says she kept photos, notes, and records hidden because she believed certain people were extremely dangerous. Before her passing in 2018, she allegedly handed this material to someone she trusted. Courtney claims that within this memoir are images showing Diddy and Snoop together in situations that raise serious questions. He describes moments that weren't quick greetings or casual gestures, but interactions that appeared unusually intimate for public settings. He emphasized, "We don't hold our man hand, we shake it and get it back in our pocket." His point was clear, these moments didn't look typical. During the interview, some photos were shown in a heavily redacted form. Faces were blurred, names removed, but body language was still visible. Viewers immediately pointed out how uncomfortable the interactions appeared, even without full context. Courtney also claimed that there were similar images involving other male celebrities, all allegedly documented by Kim Porter before her death. Again, these are claims made publicly, not proven facts, but the consistency is what has people talking. At first, many brushed it off as gossip. That reaction makes sense, but things shifted when Courtney said he was contacted by someone looking to sell tapes connected to Diddy.
The demon, bro. Dude is a demon. That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He's possessed with some kind of demon. Wanna be in all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature, a certain type of music for the vibration they were saying. Come on, bro. And I don't care what nobody say, man. And like, when people still talking, keep on talking, if that priest ever come out and he talking, if people keep talking, you'll find out that a lot of shit that Gene Deal has said has been the truth and nothing but the truth. I was there.
That's how one person described Diddy's behavior. They went on to say the environments were dark, controlled, and very specific. Certain rooms, certain lighting, certain temperatures, certain music playing loud to create a specific atmosphere. According to this account, nothing was random. The person speaking said, "I was there." They claimed these weren't normal parties at all. They described the ritual-like behavior, strict setups, and things that made them uncomfortable even years later. They also said if more people keep talking, more of what was said in the past will start making sense. That person was Gene Deal, Diddy's former personal bodyguard. He worked closely with him for years and has spoken publicly about what he witnessed. Gene described events that felt unsettling and difficult to explain. He talked about spiritual figures being present, rituals being performed, and moments that didn't feel like entertainment at all. Gene even described a moment involving a white dove being released indoors only for it to fall straight to the ground instead of flying. He said it was something he had never seen before in his life, and here's where Snoop's name keeps resurfacing. Multiple people are now claiming he wasn't just around casually. They say he was present at events like these and wasn't simply a guest who showed up briefly. Again, these are allegations being repeated by witnesses, not confirmed facts. What makes this harder to ignore is that people say these claims have been brought up before. In December of 2020, when Snoop's name was mentioned in connection to some of this, the reaction was immediate. People shut it down, dismissed it, and attacked anyone who brought it up. But now, with everything else coming out, people are rethinking what they were so quick to deny back then. And once these stories resurface together, they don't feel isolated anymore. They feel connected in a way that keeps pulling attention back to the same names, the same places, and the same unanswered questions. What do I know, right? That's how a lot of people brush this off at first. And then suddenly the conversation popped back up again, with claims circulating online accusing Snoop Dogg of involvement in serious wrongdoing involving minors. And what happened next? The noise got drowned out fast. People said, Snoop's at the halftime show. I'm watching the halftime, and the discussion disappeared just like that. A woman named Ali Carter has been speaking publicly for years. She identifies herself as a survivor of child exploitation, and since around 2020, she has repeatedly named both Diddy and Snoop Dogg in her claims. For a long time, nobody wanted to listen. She was attacked online, dismissed, and told to stay quiet. But now, with everything resurfacing, people are revisiting what she said. Ali has stated that in her view, Snoop holds even more influence in these powerful circles than Diddy. She said accusations involving Snoop were raised back in December 2020, yet they were ignored completely. While those claims were circulating, Snoop was still celebrated publicly, still promoted, still treated like nothing happened. She raised a question that made a lot of people uncomfortable. She said, "We canceled Dr. Seuss and Aunt Jemima, but we're okay ignoring serious accusations against powerful celebrities?" Whether people agree or not, that question landed hard, and many admitted it exposed a double standard. Why do some people get shielded while others get erased? Why does popularity decide who gets questioned and who gets protected? That's the point she keeps pushing.
That Snoop Dogg, not again, mentioned him in December of 2020, but everybody beat the hell out of me. Screw you, that can't be true. What the hell do I know, right? And then recently it just came out again that Snoop Dogg got accused of trafficking children. And what did everybody do? Ooh, Snoop Dogg is at the halftime. I'm going to the halftime.
That's another claim Ali made publicly. She described Diddy as someone nobody wants to cross, saying everybody say don't mess with Diddy. She compared his influence to powerful political figures and implied that people who speak too openly often face serious pressure afterward. She even pointed to artists like Kanye, suggesting that whenever someone gets too close to exposing uncomfortable truths, something shifts. The way she framed it, people start acting differently, pulling back, or suddenly going quiet. These are her interpretations, not confirmed facts, but they added to the uneasy feeling around the topic. Ali also spoke about the relationship between Snoop, Diddy, and Tupac. She said the three were friends at one point, but strongly suggested that Snoop and Diddy later aligned in ways that left Tupac isolated. Again, these are her claims, but they echo what some fans have speculated for years. Now, a lot of people ask the same fair question: where's the proof? That's reasonable. But here's why the conversation keeps going. Federal investigators reportedly seized electronic devices, including computers and storage drives, from properties connected to Diddy. According to multiple reports, sealed testimony exists, and some sources claim Snoop's name appears in those materials. None of that has been made public, but it's enough to keep people watching closely. Let's talk about Snoop's public statements over the years, because this is where people say the story starts cracking. There's a video circulating online where someone breaks down inconsistencies in Snoop's stories about Tupac. In one account, Snoop describes a tense moment involving Nas during the East Coast and West Coast tension. He paints it as if he was there front and center, but Nas later responded publicly and said Snoop wasn't present at all. Members of the Outlaws, who were actually close to Tupac, backed that up. They said Snoop wasn't there either, so people started asking a serious question: why tell a story about an event you didn't attend when the people who were actually there can easily correct it? The explanation some give is that Snoop needed to insert himself into Tupac's history to protect his image.
Snoop Dogg and Diddy were best friends with Tupac. Diddy is like a black Clinton. Anybody know that? Everybody say don't mess with Diddy. Diddy is like a black Clinton, because you know there's a black, so nobody, they say that nobody messes with Diddy. There's a reason for that. You can ask Kanye. He'll tell you. He's trying to. He's trying to. He really trying to, but in a minute he's gonna get a little sick. Probably not Martin Luther King, that's a whole other story. Martin Lawrence, you know, that running out in the middle of the street acting a damn fool. He's probably gonna have one of those reset issues or something like that. And then I'll start it too that, you know, Kanye didn't, but he's trying to. But then, you know, programming breaks and then it clashes and, you know.
The theory goes like this: if the narrative ever fully shifts toward betrayal instead of loyalty, it could damage everything Snoop built. His legacy, his credibility, his entire brand. That's why people say he's spoken about Tupac so often over the years, getting emotional, bringing his name up again and again. Critics believe it helped to reinforce a version of the story that benefited him. People also revisited comments from Suge Knight, who spoke about industry rituals and tests. Now, the details of those claims are disturbing and inappropriate, so they won't be described here. But Suge suggested that young artists were pressured to prove loyalty in extreme ways. According to him and others, passing those tests could lead to rapid success. Some observers find it strange that Snoop has joked publicly about boiled eggs for years, posting about them and turning them into running jokes. To some, it feels random. To others, it feels symbolic given what's been said by people like Suge. Again, this is speculation, not proof, but it's part of why people keep connecting dots. When you line up the silence, the timing, the resurfaced interviews, and the unresolved claims, people understand why these questions won't go away. Nothing here is being declared as fact, but the patterns are why this conversation keeps coming back stronger every time. Some people believe this is Snoop's way of quietly signaling to others in the industry that he's in, that he passed whatever unspoken test exists behind the scenes. It sounds wild at first, I know, but when you line up all the pieces, the timing, the symbols, the silence, those small details start feeling less random and more intentional. Now let's talk about how Snoop may have been protecting his image for years, because this part's hard to ignore. Right when the allegations around Diddy started heating up publicly, Snoop Dogg was suddenly named an honorary U.S. coach for the Winter Olympics. Think about that timing for a second. A massive positive headline, patriotic branding, global praise, all eyes on how cool and unproblematic he is. Then it didn't stop there. He was everywhere all of a sudden. Commercials, family-friendly ads, T-Mobile spots, The Voice, NFL coverage. It felt like a full-blown PR wave. Clean image, fun uncle vibes, no controversy allowed. To a lot of observers, it looked like reputation insurance being built before things got uncomfortable. And then there's this moment that really raised eyebrows.
Yeah, man, I had to bring you back. This documentary got everyone talking, man. A lot of people want to know why you wasn't in it, man.
Well, first and foremost, I thought I was going to be in the documentary at first until I started talking to that director. I think her name is Stapleton. I don't know her name. I don't know, man. Me and 50 talked like 45 minutes. The producers had been calling me and everything. So this one night, 50 called me up and, they got him on the phone. Me and him was just talking. We was talking about old time shit, sit down with Black Hands, sit down with Puff Kids, the whole Puff situation, and this documentary that he's gonna be doing. You know what I'm saying? So I told him that I was going to, have Kirk and Tim. Kirk will be the one who talk about the business part of it. Tim will be the one who talk about the growing up phase with Diddy and everything and over there working in the record industry with him and stuff like that. They was like family. And I was gonna talk about, the street stuff, what was going on with Bad Boy, with the security, with Wolf, with the city college, with the time that I knew about when I was with him up until about early 2004 or something like that. But basically the streets and then the traveling with him and the atmosphere and everything. And then go back into the Notorious Big stuff with the Tupac and the whole 9 years, all the stuff that I knew.
Snoop addressed why he wasn't part of 50 Cent's documentary, and his explanation was long, detailed, and revealing. He said he originally thought he would be included until conversations with the directors started. He admitted he spoke with 50 for nearly 45 minutes. He said producers were calling him repeatedly.
He thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he did attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this.
He explained that the plan was for different people to cover different angles. One would speak on the business side, another on growing up around Diddy, and Snoop said he would handle the street side, security, travel, and the environment around Bad Boy Records up until the early 2000s. He even mentioned discussing Tupac, Biggie, and the full timeline of what he knew, but none of that made it into the final cut. Now here's where Gene Deal comes back into the picture. Gene, a former Diddy bodyguard, later did his own interview explaining why he wasn't featured in the documentary either. According to Gene, he felt the documentary left out major details that would have made the story far more damaging. He also said there were payment issues, but more importantly, key names and events were avoided. Gene specifically brought up the City College incident from 1991, where multiple people lost their lives during a Diddy-associated event. He said the real story involved more individuals than what has ever been publicly discussed. He strongly implied that certain people knew more than they admitted and chose to stay quiet. And yes, Gene said Snoop's name kept coming up when discussions turned to who knew what and when, not accusations but knowledge and silence. That distinction matters. Gene also stated that federal investigators have been collecting information for years. According to him, there are sealed testimonies naming specific celebrities and more legal action could be coming in the future. None of that is public yet, but it explains why certain people may be extremely careful right now. Now pause for a second and really think about this part. Gene Deal and Suge Knight do not get along. They have every reason to contradict each other. Yet both have made overlapping claims when it comes to Snoop's proximity to key events. When two people who don't trust each other say similar things about a third person, people naturally start paying attention. And then there's this clip that resurfaced.
I done been confronted by so many law enforcement for the CDs. Even my studio equipment was confiscated.
Now, peeps, we have an exclusive on the Lionel B Show today. A Diddy insider sat down with me to talk about the Diddy celebrity tapes he has possession of, and also exclusive details surrounding Diddy and Gene Deal's involvement.
That line added another layer to the conversation because it points to long-standing pressure behind the scenes that most fans never saw. Now here's where things expand even further. On the Lionel B Show, an exclusive interview was teased involving a Diddy insider. According to the host, this individual claimed to have possession of celebrity-related tapes connected to Diddy. The insider also promised details involving Gene Deal and others who were around during key moments. Again, nothing here is being declared as fact. These are claims, testimonies, and public statements being discussed openly by people connected to this situation. But when you stack the timing, the image cleanup, the missing documentary footage, and the repeated mentions of the same names, it becomes harder to dismiss everything as coincidence. That's why people keep revisiting this story. Not because of one clip or one accusation, but because the same patterns keep repeating over decades, and every time the new information surfaces, it connects back to the same small circle. Industry insiders don't always speak directly about this stuff. They use coded language so they can talk without saying it outright. Phrases like sitting in the director's chair or being on their director's lap are terms people claim refer to compromising situations that allegedly open doors to major success. To outsiders, it sounds harmless, but insiders say those phrases mean something much deeper. According to multiple witnesses who say they were around these circles, Snoop's career took off fast after these alleged encounters. He went from being just another rapper to suddenly being everywhere. Big deals, major endorsements, constant visibility, and most importantly, protection from the most powerful names in the industry. And let's be real, nobody gets that level of protection for no reason. You don't become untouchable overnight unless you're connected to something bigger. And that's what many of these sources are claiming. They say Snoop wasn't just someone who got caught up and moved on. They allege he became part of the system itself, a system that protects its own while staying quiet about everything else. So let's pull all of this together. Why did Snoop Dogg really disappear the moment 50 Cent's documentary dropped? Here's what people say we actually know. Federal investigators reportedly seized electronic evidence from properties connected to Diddy. A lawyer publicly confirmed that tapes exist and that they involve celebrities who are even more high profile. Multiple independent sources have repeatedly claimed Snoop's name is connected to those recordings. Kim Porter is also said to have documented her observations about Diddy and others before her passing. Industry insiders who say they were present are finally speaking openly, and Snoop's response to all of this? Complete silence. Now think about this carefully. When someone faces serious public allegations and they're innocent, what usually happens? They speak up, they deny it, they defend themselves, they issue statements or take legal action. But none of that happened here. Instead, Snoop went completely dark. No explanations, no reactions, nothing at all. And that silence stands out even more when you look at his personality. Snoop is usually the first person to comment on drama. He's always online, always giving opinions, always involved in conversations around hip-hop culture. But the second someone extremely close to him gets exposed, suddenly he has nothing to say. To many observers, that doesn't look like loyalty, it looks like self-preservation. And here's the part that has people truly uneasy. Multiple sources are saying this isn't the end. They claim more names are going to surface, that investigations are still active, and that sealed testimony exists involving several celebrities. According to those claims, Snoop's name keeps coming up in material that hasn't been released publicly yet. People believe 50 Cent knows more than he's saying. That's why he made the documentary. That's why he's posted cryptic messages for years. And that's likely why Snoop disappeared when everything started coming to light, because silence is safer than answers when someone else has receipts. Look, this is heavy, no doubt about it. Putting all of this together isn't easy to process, but these conversations matter. We can't keep protecting public figures just because we grew up liking their music or their image. If even part of these allegations turns out to be true, then it means the public was shown one version of Snoop Dogg for decades while something very different was happening behind the scenes. It would mean loyalty was used as a mask and a friendly image was used as cover for behavior that deserves serious scrutiny. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Snoop is hiding something? Do you believe his name could come up in future indictments? And if this all turns out to be true, how should fans respond after supporting him for so long? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment and I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. I know this was heavy, but these stories need to be discussed and people who speak up deserve to be heard. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs to see it, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. This story is far from over. New information is coming out constantly and more people are stepping forward every day. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.